Oh, one moment. I'm
Oh,
gonna,
yeah.
I'm gonna grab a drink. You just reminded me.
While our guest is waiting, I'll just click over to myself here. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industry. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a talented comic creator with a fantasy comic, and we are joined by Jonathan. Is it Hiestand?
It's Hiestand.
Hiestand. Okay, I always get that confused. And how are you doing today, John?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. You know, and it was Triune Comic, if I recall correctly, if I pronounced that even right.
Yes.
Good, good. One out of two isn't bad then. I don't mind. For those that have never actually read Triune Comic, tell us what it's all about.
Uh, Triune Comic is something that I have been creating for a very long time. It's about the main protagonist, Daru, uh, discovering that has become part of a prophecy, and and it's about her discovering, you know, what part she plays in this part prophecy, and she's very important to it. It's also about she's trying to realize that she needs others in order to help, help this prophecy to come true. Um, she's just, it's just a comic about discovering herself, more about her powers, how she deals with the world around her. This comic takes place after a 1,000-year war between elves, half elves, dwarves, humans, just kind of all came together, and we're in a post-war era, about a couple hundred years after the war, and um, half elves are treated as less than people. They still exist in society. They go to school, they work, but they're not really seen. They're seen as second-class citizens, really. And this is about her story about trying to find a place to fit in a world that doesn't even really want her. And yeah, that's it.
Well, good, good. That's a good start there. So, what was it about this particular world, or maybe this particular character that drew you to her?
um, I'm sorry. Repeat that question.
What was it about your main character that you stuck with for so long? When you started creating her, was it something that just kind of struck you as this is the character I want, or was it something that you were just messing around with?
It was something. It's something I was messing around with. Really, I didn't. Uh, Way back in 2004, 2005, I visited the Art Institute of Technology in Portland, Oregon. Stayed there for 2 weeks. I came across a comic, errant story by Poe, and that is what really drove me to try and try and make a webcomic, really. And at the time, um, I wasn't very popular, and so I kind of just a lot of what was going on in my life, I kind of poured into the character and wanted to kind of escape reality, I suppose, in a lot of ways, create a whole new world, and then it just kind of built up from there. High school ended, a lot of things changed for me, and I looked back on the comic and thought to myself, I really like the world that I had made, so let's just keep going. Really.
It's good to see because you've since 2004. That's a long time to put a lot of effort and time into your world that you built for Triune as well too.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that came about. Started out with one title, and then I realized it just started out with me kind of drawing pages and then just going one after the next on next pages, and turned and looked at it and said, "This isn't enough. I didn't have anything written down. I had no scripts. I had nothing for it. So I scrapped everything that I had, kept a few elements, went back and renamed it Perfect Gray, and started going forward with that again. I started fiddling with online elements. I think Drunk Duck was one of the first places I went with my comic. And then I don't know what happened, but sometime after that, I scrapped it again. I I just I didn't feel like there was enough backbone. There was enough story to be told. So there wasn't enough substance in substance for that world. So I went back again and did everything. I wrote the ending. I wrote the beginning, and not just the ending to the comic, the ending of the universe. What happens after all of this? Does the world go on? Does it not? That sort of thing. So I wanted to really kind of build the spine and the body to this entire, universe. And and I wanted more things to have more and more meaning. There is a meaning behind Darukria's name. There is a meaning behind Susan's name. There is a meaning behind the name of Triune. There's meaning to almost everything, and well, pretty much everything in the comics. So all the names, they have meanings. There's a reason they are named the way they are named, and it just felt like it had more. It just felt more full. And in 2009, I started looking at hosting sites, and Triune was born online in 2009, and it's been going strong ever since.
And it's at triunecomic.com as well too. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, that's it. It was let's see. From there, started doing for a while. It was only me doing the artwork. About about 2011 or so, I felt that my writing was going faster than my artist ability could keep up with.
Mm-hmm.
So I started having another artist come in and do the pages while I did the writing, and we've been doing that together since then, I believe. Yeah, nice. 2011. Wow. It's been 3 years already.
It's amazing how much time flies when you're working on something so passionately too.
Yeah, I mean, this was just something that it's still something I enjoy doing. It was just something that I did in my off time a lot, and now it's just this thing that's grown beyond me. I can't believe it's come this far so much.
When you look back at what you started with 3 years ago till what you have now, what were some of the major challenges that you personally had to face? With the comic, sorry, I should say.
Yeah, with it was kind of everything. I mean, it was advertising. It was where do I go to do this? Mostly that sort of thing. A lot of what I had with the comic, as far as the webcomic itself, it was running on an old version of Comic Press, and then it all of a sudden needed to be changed. And hi, dog. Yes, dog. And she, anyways, and we needed to. So I needed to redo that. It was actually a bit after issue 2 that I changed the way in which the story was going to go. Not actively. I didn't scrap and start all over. I was initially going to keep it all on one planet, and then decided I was going to go further than that, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest challenge for me has been just balancing the comic and my life as it is right now. I'm married.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Congratulations.
thank you. Married, 3 cats, a dog, lots of loans, a new place. You know, we're from Oregon and now we're living out in Colorado, so you know, balancing regular life with comic life it's precarious.
Mm.
It's delicate.
But you're managing though. That's the thing though. I mean, you're still putting the comic out. That's the main thing. Even if it may, are you still sticking to an update schedule with it, or?
Currently, right now, I finished the mini comic, the Princess and the Punk Rocker, and I that was something I wanted to do over the course of the Christmas break, and then it got away from me. But we just finished that, and right now I've already sent the script out. I'm waiting to hear. I've seen a few sketches from my artist, and we're going to start updating for issue 5. Hopefully within the next month. So we're on a little bit of a hiatus right now. Takes a little while. We've gone from different proportions. We have to go back to 11 by 17. So he's not really used to that. So we're just kind of winging it right now, I guess.
Well, sometimes that's the best plans. Is no plans.
We try and keep an updated. I try and keep an updated schedule. Usually on Mondays. And I make announcements on the website. I make announcements on the Facebook. I make announcements on the Twitter when we're updating. When was there a new TWC voting incentive? That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wallpapers. Anything new comes out, everyone should know about it.
Nice. That's great. It's really interesting, especially when I'm going through the archive itself. The story is just really engaging too. It's your character interactions, your dialogue is nice and it flows. I mean, I'm sorry, you're on the same artist back in 2011, or you've changed artists since then?
Haven't actually. I've had the same artist since 2011.
Okay, good.
Working really well.
Nice. And do you happen to know who that was, or is?
That is Federico Dalman.
Mm-hmm.
He's He lives in Buenos Aires, if I remember correctly. Yes, that's it. And he caught my eye when I was surfing around for artists, and he does other things. He does do some wallpapers and incentives when he has time, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of other art projects. Holy War, Persecution can be found on his I think you can find a link on his DeviantArt page, and that's where I met him, on DeviantArt primarily.
Good stuff. No, I like the art style, and I like your dialogue, and your world is just so vast. It's hard to really pinpoint exactly what's so engaging about it. But when you started building up this world, did you ever find that you might have written yourself into a corner, or were you just kind of going with the flow as you were writing it?
I went with the flow a lot, and then as I started building, of course, all the characters, their pasts and everything, it made it a bit more difficult because I had to make sure everything was in line and in the way it was supposed to be. So far, so good. So far so good. Haven't really had to write myself into a corner yet. I have had some moments where I have put something. Oh gosh, this webcomic spans between a lot of hard drives, and there's some stuff that's actually missing. I have written some things and went back to the comic online and thought, wait, why did I do this again? And I had to go back and pour through all my old notes. I have a box behind me that is about 3 feet long, 2 feet deep, and 2 feet wide, is just full of everything Triune related since I started. Wow. And I'll go back into old notebooks, old drawings, and think, okay, well, what did I do with this? How did I do this? I try and keep everything bookmarked, but sometimes I look at something that I'd written and, well, what was this for? But this looks important. What was this for?
Oh, when it comes to being creative here, what are you most passionate about?
I like to do obviously I like to do the writing, but um, I'm also really trying to work on my artistic skill. Although I did get an artist, a lot of the side stuff I do myself, and I challenge myself picking up new things to look at. Photo compositing is what I'm looking at right now, and I just kind of tinker with that. I use a lot of Manga Studio 5 and Adobe Photoshop, and um, I understand Photoshop a lot better today than I did 3 years ago, but there's still so much to learn, and I'm always just trying to push to keep going, actions, just everything, I'm passionate about trying to improve my artistic skill. I stopped drawing Triune 3 years ago because I didn't think that I could keep up
Mm.
artistically. Um, Also, life had a lot to do with it, but and I didn't feel it was right to keep updates from from the people that were invested in my comic. So I'm gonna just keep going, and I guess as soon as I'm satisfied with myself, that's when I may step in. We'll see. Haven't decided anything yet.
What do you feel that your source of creative? Well, sorry, let me rephrase that.
Where do I get my muse, I guess,
Yeah,
or
your
my
music,
inspiration?
muse and inspiration, or both, or separately.
Uh, a little bit of. I like to read. I read a lot. Uh, Growing up, mostly it was Stephen King and Robert Jordan for me. Uh, that uh, I draw a lot of my inspiration from how they viewed and built their own worlds. Um, I can't really draw or do anything unless I'm listening to music. Kind of helps me just dive into whatever I'm doing. Um, so I just there's that. Anime.
Yep. No, I like it too.
No, and it's been everything, small stuff, big stuff. You know, Fooly Cooly, Evangelion, Carcano, just a little bit of everything, and they all just kind of blend into one thing, and I just sit back and think and relax, and uh, just why does one thing have to be this way, and then I think about it even further, or why does this person act in this way, and I go out and Google uh, different psychological the way people think, why people make decisions the way they make decisions. So part of the reason why I did the mini comic, I wanted to explain further why Cairo's doing the things that he is doing. He believes he basically doing all the right things for the wrong reason at this point. But I just wanted to give some kind of backdrop to his life.
Good stuff. I like it.
Mm.
It's probably the most in-depth answer to the question I've had in a while, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
What about in terms of this particular comic, then, or maybe if you want to go to your massive amounts of books you have in the trunk behind you? What was one of your most creative mistakes then that you ended up using?
Wow. Creative mistakes. I guess I can look at the one of the transition between Perfect Gray and Triune. I don't actually know what set me off to decide to scrap it and start again. It was, I mean, I kept going. It was fine. It was just something was missing, and I thought it was at first over the course of about a year. I thought I was making a mistake trying to start over again, but I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. There was that. couple things in character creation that I looked at and said, let's try this, and just kind of went forward with it. Um, there's a lot that still needs to happen in the comic yet, and those mistakes that will turn out awesome will probably not come out for some time. And they have yet to even leave planet Earth.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, actually. When it comes then to maybe, let's go along this route here. What do you fear the most then?
I fear outward things keeping me from completing my comic. You know, if I can afford hosting costs, I'll probably move it to a free server. Mostly stuff like that. You know, as much as I hate to say it, a lot of this stuff does revolve around, you know, my wallet. You know, you know, I want to gather new readers, so I have to pay for advertising. That I want to be involved, you know, with drawing new readers in and everything else. And it unfortunately does revolve around a lot of money. And sometimes I fear that I fear that I won't be able to post anything sometimes. My roots go back to 2005, got out of high school, and I ended up homeless for, like, legitimately sleeping in parking garages and under bridges for 2 years. And I don't want to go back to that. I've been working my entire life since then to not go back to that. And but part of my fear comes from, I don't want to, if I do end up going back then I'll have to stop doing this, and that's what I fear the most. You know what, in the end, I could have 1 million readers or 0 readers. I could have all the money in the world, but if my comic is not successful, and even if my comic is not successful, I'm just trying to get my story out. I've had this idea stuck in my head for a decade now, and I want to put it out, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that happens. I suppose that is my greatest fear, and I'll do everything to make sure it doesn't come true.
Good. I like it. Good answer. You know, let's go with a little more positive aspect then.
Okay. Get a little too dark there, huh?
No. It was perfectly fine. It's a hard question because you have to really look into yourself, and it depends on what you're willing to share and what you're willing to actually put out there for people to hear and understand. And you know, it takes guts to really voice what you truly fear. And you know, it's props to you. I mean, many people would give good canned answers. Many people would do things that are status quo. You know, you're just laying it out there, and that's more viable than just something that comes off the top of your head. So it's a good answer.
Okay.
You're welcome. So what about this then? What do you care? What are you most passionate about, and what do you care deeply about?
I thought we already covered this topic.
Sorry. Passion. Yeah, sorry. You forget the passionate one, but you know, actually, no, you're right. I did. It's the same thing. Never mind. Next question.
Okay.
Moving on. Everyone usually has that one person that kind of inspired them down their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
I don't really think it was one person. Like I said, there have been multiple things that have made me want to do this. I'd have to say, honestly, I think that, well, there was that one webcomic. Wow.
Aaron Story?
You ask difficult questions.
You're not the first person to say that.
I feel like I should have prepped for this. It's the final exam, and I'm in school and in my underwear.
I could make a joke about pants and all that stuff, but I'll pass on that for now.
Okay. Um, I do say that Aaron's story was the one. He inspired me to make my own webcomic. Probably the person that I look up to the most as a storyteller, honestly, uh, is another webcomic writer slash artist, Michael Terracino. Um, he did um, he did Dominic Deegan for 10 years and then quit, and he ended it, and it was beautiful, and it made me cry. Um, but it, he his comic is what I've been following mostly for the. I still go back and read old issues, whatever he has left online. He has been honestly probably one of my biggest inspirations to keep going. You know, um, I look to him really.
Have you seen his newest stuff yet?
Yeah, Star Power.
Yep.
I can't get enough of it.
I know. I happened to finally meet him live at an anime convention in Detroit. Because I had interviewed him once before, and I got to get him back on the show. He's a fun interview as well too. You're great. But yeah, he is his. When he ended it, I was like, oh no, what like. I had invested as much time as well into it, and it was like, no, why? And then Star Power is just as it's as engaging as well too, and it's in color, so it's nice to see. Um, what about when it comes to success? Then, obviously you're doing well for yourself in terms of keeping your schedule there. You have a story that you're happy with and that you're working on. Um, but what does success mean to you?
Hmm. There's a lot of different ways to measure success, and some people say it's money, some people say it's power. Um, in the end, though, I think it's success is how happy you are. Without your own happiness to drive you forward, there is no. I mean, what would be the point? I mean, ultimately, that's I think why we're here is to have happiness in our own lives. But success for the comic, as long as I'm still posting pages, and as long as maybe even if only one person in the entire world is still reading it, I'll be happy with that.
It's a good goal to have. It's easily.
Without your
Whoop,
own happiness to
whoop,
drive you
damn.
forward. Okay,
Forgot
go.
about. I forgot I had the YouTube thing playing on in the background there, in case there was other comments or questions.
All right.
um, yeah, it's odd. It's technology at its finest. Moving on then. What about in terms of failures? How would you deal with failure?
Figure out what I did wrong, pick up the pieces, and keep going. Honestly, um, it's can be it is difficult. I've had points in the past where I got stuck, uh, usually in something outward, um, and that prevented me from doing anything with the comic or going forward. Patience helps a lot in this industry, that's for sure. Um, in terms of failure, just I mean, just it's like you kind of got to view it like you're like a program you're working on, and it doesn't compile the first time, so you have to go back and figure out where the error was, fix the error, and then can continue on. Uh, like I said, I'm trying to make sure all these pages get out there and into the world. And if something went wrong, if something didn't fit quite right, then I'll go back and figure out what it was and just keep pushing on forward.
It's definitely it's hard to recover from something that you've worked so hard on, and comes and bites you in the ass.
I would say probably a good example would be I had a laptop a couple of years ago, and I keep saying I'm going to back everything up, and I never do. So when my Asus decided to fail on me one day, I lost a lot. There are some files I don't have anymore, old Photoshop documents mostly, old notes that I could definitely use. To get at them is expensive, according to Best Buy at least, but getting at them is going to be expensive. So a lot of probably what's built on right now is just whatever I had left, what was stored on random USB drives, whatever's on the internet right now, whatever's on on my server. Wow, hi. My brain stopped for a minute there. It does that.
Happens to me all the time. As we're winding up here, is there something that I haven't brought up that the watchers of the show or the listeners of the audio version of this, would like to know about the comic or about yourself that for their own information and for yourself?
Whoa. Sometimes we'll go on long hiatuses, but we'll be back. That's about it. There have been multiple points in Triune's history where we've had to stop for upwards of 3 months, just work, and we're working on the comic, and can sometimes seem like I feel like people are thinking, well, he's not doing anything about it. I am. Sometimes I stay up too late working on this thing. I mean, I have work and other outward responsibilities and careers and all sorts of stuff. So I am working. Federico and I are both working on the comic constantly. Every day I'm doing something new with it. So if we're in the middle of a hiatus, be patient. It will come. I'm a child of the internet, so to speak. So I'm on the line all the time. And if anyone has any further questions, don't hesitate to email me, I suppose.
You can find that on your website?
Yep. Top right-hand corner has my email, my DeviantArt, has Federico's, at least DeviantArt account, Twitter, Facebook. I don't think we're on Google Plus yet. I might change that. We'll see.
Good. It's a good platform to have, actually, for comics, for connecting with people, and hey, at least people are going to actually see it instead of the Facebook limitations.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Jonathan, for coming on the show and really kind of explaining yourself, the comic, and the amazing world of Triune that you've built, and it's truly interesting and amazing.
Well, thank you for having me, Curtis. This been anticipating this all weekend, and glad it happened. I'm very happy about all of this.
Good. Well, I'd love to have you come back on the show again. Let's set something up for next year. Let's see how you're doing. With the next chapter in Triune Comic, and we'll take a look at triunecomic.com as well. And I just keep at it. It's a long road. You're on your way, and it just takes and maybe an interview like this, or maybe something in the future for something to happen. I'm sure it'll happen with you.
Let's do that. That sounds like fun.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I hate to say it, that ends another episode of Two Geeks Talking. That's episode was that? 364. There we go. I had to write it down.
Cool.
360. Well, technically, it's. I am going to go through my archive and actually figure out what number I'm truly on. But for now, it's 364, with, of course, Jonathan Hiestand from TriuneComic.com. And of course, check out his work, check out everything that he has, and subscribe to his feed and see what else is coming on, because he has 3 years of an archive. It's a lot of comics to go through. But tune in tomorrow for another great interview with a longtime friend and guest of the show. You've seen him on The Comic Asshole. You've seen his work with Reading with Pictures. You've seen his work with Albert the Alien. The man with the longest running interview on Two Geeks Talking, with that at a 4.5 hour interview time slot. Trevor Mueller comes back onto the show, and we'll make sure it's not 4.5 hours this time. Because I can't handle that. And I'm sure you guys only have so long of a drive to listen and watch to this show. But grab this episode on iTunes. Grab the episode on YouTube, which is youtube.com/TGT Media. And, of course, if you want to support us through our Patreon account, you can also support Jonathan's Patreon account on his website as well, too. But you can support TGT on Patreon as well at patreon.com/2geekstalking. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, great night, and see you next episode.